Game of the day. I want to start with where football started, and you mentioned Oklahoma Texas at the state fairgrounds. No matter when, save for last year, because it was 49-0, Dylan Gabriel didn't play. It was a complete outmatch. It was a complete indictment of Brent Venables in year one. He has since taken back over the defense. And with the defense playing the way that it is and Dylan Gabriel playing the way that it is in that final drive, I thought Texas and Sark was going to go in there with that final field goal and get this win and stay in the hunt for a playoff berth. Yesterday completely flipped the Big 12 on its axis because these two teams are going to meet again. But for right here, right now, Paul, you've got to seriously talk about Oklahoma as a legitimate contender for a college football playoff spot.
Yeah, number one, I'll get this out of the way. I mean, Texas is still a really good team, but let me move them out of the way because they're no longer really relevant in this conversation. I cannot be more impressed with Brent Venables because I really had my doubts, and you couldn't help but have your doubts after 49-0 last year. But he has come of age. We couldn't really tell, and I had Oklahoma fans and friends kept telling me, "Hey, you're wrong. They're great." I said, "Calm down. You've beaten nobody." But I mean, on the biggest stage that they'll play in until they play again against Texas. I mean, that was just amazing. And the fact that they had the game won, I mean, that game was over and then they let it slip away and then they got it back, I think just, reinforces, how well Venables has progressed as a head coach. And, Dylan Gabriel was just pure magic at times to watch. I mean, you have to forgive the mistakes of considering the atmosphere and the environment and what was going on, but that's one of the big wins I've seen in a long time, and it meant so much because there had been a degree of apprehension from Oklahoma people about coming into the SEC because Texas was the big bad. And they felt like they were just kind of following their big brother in, but there's no longer any apprehension. And SEC fans are already claiming them now for this year. They're trying to get credit for Oklahoma and Texas.
I mean, Greg Sankey was at the State Fair yesterday for that game, so he's already planted his flag with both of those schools. And I thought about this yesterday watching it because I go way back with Oklahoma, Texas, from my small market television gig and local TV, and in Dallas where that game is played. I was there for 5 years, and I've seen that game numerous times. And it was always the game of the year in the Big 12 South. No matter what, it was the game of the year, and it was really one of the games of the year in college football. But then, Paul, what would happen is Oklahoma and Texas, after they got done with an all-time classic, they'd go play Kansas, and they'd go play another Oklahoma. They'd go play another Big 12 game. That's done after this year. And I started thinking big picture for both Oklahoma and Texas. If you're going to make a run at the college football playoff, you had better do it this year because next year, and I don't know the schedule, it's not in front of me, but you're going to come out of this game and then have to go suit up against LSU. Or going to have to go suit up against Tennessee. Are going to have to go suit up against Florida. It's a completely different ballgame for both of these programs. So do it now until you get used to what's coming.
No, Oklahoma has Georgia. Texas has Georgia at home next year. Oklahoma has Alabama.
That's following this?
No, wait, somewhere.
Okay.
The schedule has not been released.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, those are the games that are already set.
Yeah.
And no, it won't be the next week. But I mean, both their schedules are pretty treacherous. But you're right, 100% correct about that. And I think they're both. I think that game. There's definitely a spot on the line in that game, regardless of how the rest of the season turns out.
It's so good. I mean, you just sit here and you think about everything we saw yesterday, and that's where we'll leave you. Paul, I want you, if you could, we do this every week, first Saturday in October, left us with so much drama, so much jaw-dropping decisions and just unbelievable finishes. How would you sum up what we saw at the Week 6 college football season, Mark?
Well, as great as the wins was for Oklahoma and Alabama, and the criticism, the fact that I'm about to mention Deion Sanders for the first time is actually breaking news. But Matt, it will transcend sports, the stupidity of Mario Cristobal. That will be when you're walking down the hallway on Monday, whether it's at your place or mine, or at an auto shop, or in an insurance company, people are going to be talking about that, because I mean, there are very few times in our industry where you see something as boneheaded and moronic as what we saw from Miami and Mario. And it pains me to say, because I like you, I keep in touch with Mario all the time. But that's beside the point. That doesn't matter. We would be derelict. We would be as derelict in our job by not calling him out as he was in his job. I mean, I had a head coach text me this morning saying, "Have you ever seen a more egregious display of coaching malpractice than that?" And the answer is no.
Yeah. And from someone who sits next to Dan Mullen 3-4 days a week, you can only imagine what his reaction was while all this is going on. And look, you're going to remember it for the wrong reasons, but there's a lot of football left to play. And here's one thing I know to be true. If that's how we're going to start the midway point of the season and finish it, and then start the rest of October, boy, are we in for a treat of absolute college football chaos. It is the greatest, stupidest sport in the history of the world, and we are here with a front row seat. Paul, great stuff. I'm looking forward to doing it again next week. Where are we headed for SEC?
Knoxville, A&M in Tennessee.
Oh, okay, good. We'll have some Jimbo Fisher anecdotes next week, and see if Josh Heupel can't get it done. For Paul Finebaum, I'm Matt Barrie. Thank you for watching the Matt Barrie Show on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel.
Give me something I can feel. Light a cigarette just so I can breathe.